Hey everybody, welcome to paper flower tutorial. These are not the rolled paper flowers. These flowers are from my own design, and you can get the SVG cutting files down below in the description. There is both a file for 8.5 by 11 paper and one for 12 by 12 paper, so make sure that you do choose the correct one so that you can cut your flower petals out. You're going to need just a couple supplies for this very, very simple project. You're going to need a glue stick and extra glue sticks for your hot melt glue gun. You're going to need a pair of scissors. I prefer just to make sure they're nice metal ones. A glue gun, and your petals in whatever color you want to do your project in. Make sure you have lots because you're going to get addicted. The first thing you do is pick up one of your petals, and I roll the edge of my petal just along the scissors to kind of break down the fibers in the paper and to get a little bit of a roll going on the paper itself. I find the metal works really well, but if you don't have a pair of scissors, you can use a quelling tool, you can use the edge of a table, whatever you've got. So once you've got it kind of rolled up like this, you're just going to roll it in on itself to make a little tube, basically. And you want it to be a relatively tight tube. It's pretty tight. And then kind of unroll the edge just a little bit because we're going to put a dab of glue right here. Just a small dab, doesn't need to be anything too big, and I usually will spread it around with the tip of my hot melt glue gun. And then you're just going to roll it closed. It's okay if a little bit of glue leaks out, no big deal. You're going to cover that up anyways, and a lot of times once it's cool enough, I'll just roll it around the base of my flower. So you can see you've got the start of your flower is this little tube piece. It's just a tube. Our second petal, we're going to do the same thing where we're going to take our scissors and we're just going to roll the petal along the edge of the scissors like this to give it a little bit of a curl. It makes it easier so that you can roll it around your second piece or your middle piece. So we've got a pretty good curl going. Now for this one, you don't want to curl it all the way up. You can just leave it like this in a nice little U shape. And we're just going to put a little bit of glue on either corner. And it's probably going to drip down, and that's okay because we don't mind that. And you can kind of fill it with glue. You don't want to put too much glue in here because it'll all just seep out. So you just want enough glue in there, and you're going to lay your centerpiece in so that the seam is in the back of your petal. And don't worry if it's not perfect. It just looks a little bit better, but really nobody's going to notice. And you're just going to press the bottom together and hold it so that it's holding on to your middle piece, so your little tube. And you can see how the bottom looks now. So you have your two petals together. We don't need the scissors anymore, so we're going to put those to the side. This is where your extra glue stick comes in. This is like the perfect width to do this. So all I do is I take a petal and I set it on the glue stick, and then I just sort of press it so that it gets that little bit of a curl to it. If you try to curl it without something, it tends to fold and get a crease, and you don't want these creased. So here's your petal, and all you're going to do is take a little bit of hot glue and just dab it along. And again, I always just use the tip of my hot melt glue gun to spread it around. And then you're just going to line it up on the bottom of your flower. And you want to try to keep your bottoms pretty straight. And you want to just fan it out at the top a little bit so that it sort of sticks out. You don't want it completely straight on there, if you can see how it's sort of fanned out. And don't worry, these do take a little bit of practice to get them right. I have probably made 6,000 of these because I did use them for my wedding. So I've been doing this for, gosh, over a year now. So these are what I used, and it did take some practice. Don't worry if you've got a little bit of an edge coming up. It's okay because we're going to end up gluing it down with our next piece. So you just take your next petal, and you're just going to do the exact same thing where you're going to roll it on your glue stick. You're going to take a little bit of hot melt glue. You're going to rub it on the bottom, and then you're going to go ahead and place your petal. And you want to place them off-centered a little bit from each other, so you can see how it overlaps a little bit right here, but you don't want it to fully overlap, so you kind of want a little bit of an edge to show. Like, it almost looks like a heart. That's the best way I can describe it, is you make a little bit of a heart top with your petals. You can see how it's kind of coming together here. You just, like I said, you want to make sure that you do have them out a little bit, so you don't want to put them completely straight up and down on. You want to put them at a little bit of an angle. Just be really careful because your hot melt glue is going to be hot and your fingers are very close to it. I have burned myself many, many times. So again, just line it up with the bottom. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the closer it is, the better. Press it down and just hold the bottom until the glue is a little bit cooler. And again, you see we've just made a little heart at the top, and we have our bottom where it's, you can see it's angled up a little bit. Let's see if I can move my finger so you can see that. See how it's angled up just a little bit. Like I said, these do take some practice. They're not super hard once you get it. So don't be discouraged if your first couple come out a little wonky. I should have brought you an example of my first 15, 20 of these. They looked ridiculous. I was very discouraged at first until I realized, hey, silly girl, just keep practicing. So don't give up if they're not perfect the first time. These guys are, back here are ones I did a couple days ago. I do them in all sorts of colors. I know I showed you guys on the Facebook group the holographic ones. I've got a couple different designs of those. You can use any paper you want. The paper I'm using right now is from Michaels. It's their Recollections brand, and it's the stuff that they usually sell for their normal pricing on it is, I believe, $4.99 a pack, and these are 8.5 by 11 sheets. But I always get them when they're on sale for $2 or 3 for $5, you know, depending on their sale. So you can use any cardstock you want. The thinner cardstock will curl a little bit easier, and it does seem to hold up pretty well. So it's kind of just up to you guys and what you know, how you want to make them. You can use patterned, plain, holographic. I tried it with glitter. I gotta say that one did not turn out because the outside of the flower, you could really see on that one that it didn't have any color on the back of the paper. These ones, if you look, they don't have color on the back of the paper, but I think it's because they have so much white in the patterning, you don't notice it as much. But with the glitter cardstock, it was very, very noticeable, and I did not like it, so I ended up just going ahead and not using that. I didn't like it. It didn't come out well. But if you want a glitter look for these, you can get the glitter craft spray, and you just spray them lightly, a couple layers, and then you can just seal them with one of the glitter spray sealers, like I think Krylon makes them and things. That's how I did my wedding flowers. I did them with a little bit of glitter to them so that they would stand out. And it does if you use a darker color like this one. That's trying to roll away. If you use a darker color like this one, it makes the edges stand out better, and it just gives it a little bit more definition. These really don't take a lot of glue, which is nice, and you guys can make them as big or small as you want. The cut files below are pre-sized for you, so they will have the same color as size petals. And the one that I like about these is you get a lot more, way more flowers out of one sheet of paper. Those rolled flowers seem to waste a ton of paper. These, you pretty much use as much of the paper as humanly possible. And I think I'm getting anywhere from 5 to 6 flowers out of just one single sheet of the 12 by 12. And I think I get about 4 flowers out of the 8.5 by 11. Now you can see it's starting to kind of come together. It's starting to look like its big brother. You can see what it's going to look like when it's done. So we're just going to keep going around in a circle. And this is kind of where it comes to you guys and what you want it to look like. Because if you want really small ones, then you stop, you know, at lesser layers. If you want really big ones, you keep going. And this is just all a personal preference on size. You just want to kind of make sure that you do keep this top lined up a little bit so that they're not, you know, all one's sticking up really tall, one's not. You just kind of keep rolling them around and rolling them around. This is a really fun craft to do with your kids. You can use other glue. This glue just dries much faster. I tried it with the tacky glue, and it took a way longer to do because you had to hold on to the petals, and you couldn't just kind of like flop it down like I'm doing. You had to really be gentle. But this is really fun craft that you can do with your family. These fit in shadow boxes perfectly, so I do have them sized so that they will fit in the shadow boxes perfectly. As long as it's about 1 inch deep. So you can't use the really skinny ones, but the ones that they sell at Michael's, and I can't remember the name of that brand. It might be Recollections as well, but they just had them on sale this week. You can put them in those. They fit perfectly. That's what I did with a bunch of the ones from our wedding. I just put them in there, and I put a lyric from our first dance song. These are really fun. Like I said, you guys can do so much with these. And I just knocked over my hot milk glue gun. You guys can do so much with these. I've seen them used in all sorts of different things. And these actually make really beautiful bouquets for your brides or bridesmaids. They also make really, really pretty centerpieces. I made what's called kissing balls with them. And I put them in mason jars. The kissing balls are just round balls of these flowers. I put those in silver mason jars, and then I also had these in my bouquet. My whole bouquet was paper flowers, but it was a bunch of different types. And then I did these as like accent pieces in it. We got a lot of compliments on these, and I've been asked how to make these so many times, and I've been so torn on sharing them because these are my own personal design. You know, I slaved over making these for months and designing them and getting them just right so that they would look as close to a beautiful flower as they could. So this design is very, very close to my heart. Like I said, I used it in my wedding, and that's what it was designed for originally, was to be used for my wedding. And then I had a lot of people ask me to make them for them or to show them how to make them. So hopefully this gets you guys going on how to make them. Like I said, we're going to keep going around and around in circles until we like it. I'm just going to make this one kind of small so you guys can see. So you can see it's got a little flat side on it right now, right here. This is where, like, kind of when you get close to where you want to stop, you pay better attention to where you're putting your petals. And you're just going to kind of scrunch up your petal just like normal. And as we're putting it down, we want to try to eliminate this flat spot that's on the side. You can see as I'm putting them around, it's making a spiral because you're just gently laying them over the one before. You just want to go in a spiral. And you can see where I laid this one, it's going to be a little bit further over. Oops, and then I squished it. And then we're going to lay one more, and that should cover this last flat spot, and then our flower is finished. Show you a finished product here, and like I said, these are just, you can sit there and watch TV and do these. It's so easy. The last one I always try to get almost completely centered between this petal and then the one that it's just slightly overlapping, just because it gives you a cleaner finish on that edge. And you can see that now we don't have the flat spot, and it's nice and round all the way around. And then this is what the bottom looks like. The bottom is messy, and that's okay. Nobody ever sees it. You can actually add a stem if you want to, because you do tend to have a little open hole. So you can add a flower stem. You can glue these directly onto things. There's just a lot you can do with them. You can add them to hair bows, things like that. But again, the SVGs for these are below. They are from my Etsy shop. You can also get that mason jar for the cutting board that I made at my Etsy shop as well. And then, like I said, just make sure when you buy your petals that you are buying the correct size for the sheets that you are using. Again, we have 8.5 by 11 sheets and 12 by 12 sheets. If you need a different size sheet, let me know. I'm happy to make that for you. Just go ahead and either message me on Etsy, or you can go ahead and message me on Facebook if you guys know me there. Or you can also just comment down below and make sure you do include an email address, and I will get back to you. But you can see these are super duper easy, really, really fun, and took very little time to make just one single one. The cutting on these doesn't take very long for the Cricut because it is a very simple, fun cut. And you guys will have lots and lots of really fun flowers that are just a little bit, in my opinion, more even than the rolled flowers. And they take up way less paper. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know down below. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. I really would appreciate it. I put out new videos all the time. If there's something you specifically want to see made, let me know. I'm happy to make any tutorials for you guys. Make sure you click the little bell because that will alert you if I post a new video. And I hope you guys have so much fun making these flowers. Please make sure to share them with me because I absolutely love to see your crafts.